Hello, everyone, and welcome to the end of week 3 of Proving Grounds. I'm your host for the day. You can call me Kangas, and joining me, everyone's favorite caster to flame on Twitter, we got Cubby.
Hey, that's it? That's the intro?
That's the intro. That's what we got for you. We got Magical, the man who at any moment his internet connection could decide that he's not part of the show.
It's not
hopefully
the internet
that
connection.
Happen.
It's more what would you say? It's the application or the browser that I'm using.
Okay, sure. All right. Well, whatever it is, hopefully we can keep it for the show. Let's hopefully you can maybe tweak that around a little bit, make sure it doesn't drop. But the special guest that we have, everybody, the one that we want to highlight, we have Colomer, the man, the go-to for anything collegiate League of Legends. Some notable things he's accomplished in his career: staff at ASU, coach's assistant at Maryville in 2020, and then of course head coach for Bethany when they made that top 4 run in CLGA 2021. Thank you for coming on the show. Happy to have you, Colomer.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. Get to watch Academy teams get knocked out of a tournament with my best buds. Why would I not be happy?
Ooh.
Where's the energy? Where's the enthusiasm? You gotta be like, yeah, let's go!
Okay. I need more coffee.
The problem is all the collegiate teams got knocked out, Magical. You're asking him to be excited when Maryville's already gone.
They were gone a while
I am so excited to watch Academy teams win and lose, because that's basically all we have left. Is that better?
There we go.
Well, we're happy to have you, Coliver, because you also help out a lot of teams when they're looking to scout players, when they're looking to bring people on to amateur-affiliated organizations, as well as the Academy pipeline. So you'll have a unique insight for kind of what the scouting process might look like and what people are looking at when they watch these players play. But if you're watching the show right now, you might be wondering, what are you watching? Because this is, of course, on the LCS channel. Well, this is Proving Grounds, the culmination of the entire summer split for both Academy and amateur seasons. So Academy had the regular season. All 10 teams are present here in this tournament. And then the top 10 amateur teams based on qualifying points are competing against Academy teams for getting opportunities to show their skill against the players in the pipeline right now. All of this is the path to pro. And with that said, take a look at the upper bracket so we can catch up on what's happened so far in the tournament. Because, Gubby, I'm not going to lie, things have not shaken out as we necessarily expected them to.
Kangas, this tournament has been a hell of a surprise, as we have had upsets. We've had amateur teams making runs. We had a Garen quadra-kill yesterday, for God's sake, as if this tournament couldn't have enough already. And huge congrats deserved to both Dignitas Academy and C9 Academy, as Dignitas, first off, taking down Team Liquid Honda.
Huge.
The team that was in our last 2 finals, as our defending champion, now has to go through the lower bracket. And Dignitas played fantastic. Insanity in that game 3, put the big boy pants on and made sure that his team booked their tickets to top 4 early.
And don't forget about Comsoon playoffs, man. Comsoon playoffs is a completely different
playoffs buff.
And then on the bot side, AoE Ginger Turmeric, of course, they still made that run, impressive run into the semifinals of the upper bracket, and also took the game off of Cloud9 Academy. You mentioned the quadra kill on the Garen. It was absolutely insane. But of course, Dignitas was the big story because so many people are saying Team Liquid Academy, they could place in top, potential playoff opportunities in LCS if they were playing. So a win there is huge, and clearly it meant a lot to the folks over at the Dignitas side as we actually got a look at their celebration post-win.
Oh my god, that really good. Oh shit. Okay. Game is wonderful.
I love Deus, man.
Wish we could
Deus is
have
so
heard
fun.
more of that. I don't know what they were saying, Cubby, but
just the running tone. Yeah, I gotta say, for Dignitas, this split, it's been tumultuous, just given the changes that we have seen across the Academy and LCS level. But I gave so much credit at the start of the playoffs for PG to Deus, the coach, and the culture that he's built. Definitely, it feels like an us versus them mentality they've created over at Dig. And I think it's really helped the team come together. Also, shout out to Insanity, who coming back into Academy this year has been fantastic. He was giving me flack for, there was a Discord where we were making preseason rankings. I had Insanity out of top 5. I think I finished with him in 7th before the split started. He was kind of doing the like, what are they gonna say now? You know, like Steph Curry. And I gotta say, like in terms of regular season play, I thought Insanity was fantastic. I, made a All-Pro ballot. I had him 2nd for mid, and he just took down the first All-Pro mid in that series with one of the biggest Game 3 carries I've seen. Him, JJ, Gamsu, Neo, Perry, everyone's been fantastic on that squad. And I love the mentality that they're bringing into the games and into this tournament. It's been great to see, and I think it's really paying off big for them.
And of course, that was the win. We see the celebration, but that means that Team Liquid Academy were dealt another set of losses because at the beginning, Colmer, I don't know if you actually know this. You might have seen it on Twitter or any of the other broadcasts, but we all predicted how many game losses Team Liquid Academy would have. You did see this. So there's a lot of us that are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that they are currently at 3, so they lose one more, and literally the majority of you guys are knocked out. We'll see. I mean, obviously, you guys know I'm a big Bradley fan for lots of reasons, and TLA maybe still the favorites. Maybe Dig is the favorites now. I know that we were talking about it in the pre-show, but we'll see if they go undefeated the rest of the way. They got 3 best-of-5s, so that's probably a bit unlikely.
The weird thing is Beatdown has the most losses, and he's talked us through this. He said, okay, in 3 best-of-5s, they have to drop 3 games. That's an average of 1 game per best-of-5. That is very realistic. Or they just get knocked out. And then there's 3 right there. So I hate to say it, but Beatdowns is actually looking kind of likely. Unless, like, of course, they just went out. You never know. You never know. It seems like they're going to be hungry after that one, Magical.
Honestly, even if I'm wrong, if it ends up being 6 and Beatdown is the ultimate big brain for it, I was still close. You know what? I'll take it. This is what is it? It's only close. It counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Well, not in this. I got the holy hand grenade on my side, and I'll get 2nd place at least.
I mean, you're closer than all of us that said 0, so I will give you that. I can't argue with that logic.
Or 2.
But outside of the
2.
wins, Cubby did say 2. Nobody said 1, right? I think it went right from 0 to 2. It was kind of a weird jump.
Hey, just like your even numbers.
But outside of the performances of the teams and who's advancing in the tournament, we want to remind everybody of a special award that we give out after each split based on the regular season Academy performance, which is, of course, the most valuable prospect award. Not player. This isn't who is the best player right now in Academy. This is who we think has the best opportunity or best chances of being a prospect for a team to sign for LCS for 2 years from now. How many wins will they get in that time span as a player that can develop? And Colmer, I'd love to actually get your thoughts as we look at the prize that the players get here. Maybe some of your front runners, some of the people that you have on your list as like names that should be in that conversation, because we'll start announcing them starting next week.
I don't want to flame casters, but if you guys did not give the award
You can flame me.
to Busio or Ayla, you guys are griefing, and Twitch chat is right. It is one of those 2 guys. I don't think there's another option.
So those are your top 2. Okay. Because we do have top 5. We give 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then of course number 1 does.
Those 2 better be on that 5 for sure. Otherwise, I'm.
Wait, what did you say? I didn't hear that one.
Ayla and Busio.
Oh, you're saying Ayla and Busio. Okay.
Yeah, those are
pretty
the
good
only.
takes.
Those would be the top 2.
Cubby, was Busio on your list? I don't remember if Busio was on Cubby's top 5 list.
I believe he was. Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. I think
I think you were the one arguing
NA
against him.
had him on his list. That's
I
crazy.
think I included both of those players on my top 5 list.
All right.
So that's
They're
good.
definitely
Nice.
for the
Good.
top ones. But outside of the Academy players, because that is an Academy regular season award, we did want to give a nod to the amateur players that were playing in Proving Ground. So we have Beatdown and Smacks to present you the top performing amateur players.
What's going on, PG fans? Beatdown Boulevard here. Most Valuable Prospect is an Academy regular season award that is given out during the Proving Grounds. So, the one and only Smacks came to me saying that now is probably a good time for us to highlight 5 amateur players that we think are ready to go for the next step as well. Or at the very least, players that we want to see next year in amateur again. It was hard for us to narrow it down to just 5 choices, but here's who we got.
Our first player on the list is the General himself, Sniper. With a solid mastery of his champion pool of bruisers and phenomenal team fighting during every stage of the game, Sniper would be a perfect fit for any Academy team. The only issue is that he literally isn't old enough for the league. When the 2023 season rolls around and Sniper celebrates his 16th birthday, I am certain that we will be celebrating his rookie split in Academy.
Keeping up with the top lane theme, our next player is Faisal, top laner for Evil Genius Prodigies. Faisal's a player who has been very consistent on whatever team he has been on, and despite EGP's recent struggles and early exit from Proving Grounds, he still has had good performances and is someone we're really excited about to keep seeing. As far as top laners go in our eyes, Faisal is one of the players we consider to be next up.
Fnatic is without a doubt the strongest jungler we have in Amateur this year. Exceptional levels of consistency through creative gank angles and strong frontline presence allow him to elevate any team he is on, as shown by his splits playing for both Resolve and 100 Thieves Next. He's been ready for an Academy spot for years, and I hope he makes his return.
Next is another young player who's also taken their first steps in Amateur in 2022. Yukino is the jungler for Evil Genius Prodigies, and this being the first team he started for and his first year in organized play overall, he's someone who's really surprised us with his play. Maybe it's too soon to talk about Academy promotion for this player, but this kid surely has a future in competitive league.
Rovex shows again that mid lane role swaps make for the best supports in NA. Solid mechanics in lane and fights allow him to pilot many wacky champions like Pyke and Yasuo, but he also has shown consistency on more traditional supports like Soraka and TK. I expect if Rovex keeps his current pace, he will continue winning amateur tournaments until he finally makes his Academy debut.
I uploaded my votes for All Pro basically, which my vote went to City Witty, who was not on there. Shout out to City Witty. I did not have Fnatic, and I got so much informative messages telling me that I was very mistaken, which was a mistake. I knew that I was going to make one, so shout out to Fnatic, who was number 3 on that list. Solid list, though.
Yeah.
I think you can go.
I was just going to say the Fanatics impressed me very much. So I would join in on the flame, but I like you too much. So I'm not going to send you DMs. I'll just tell you live on broadcast. But of course, Fnatic was the player that I'm happy included on that list. But shout out to all the amateur players that were participating. With that said, they're not all gone. There is still one amateur team remaining in Proving Grounds. Let's take a look at the lower bracket here, Cubby, and talk about them, because AoE Ginger Turmeric will be in the top 6 still, and might even, if they win their next series, punch a ticket to the LCS stage.
And today is our last day of best of 3. So after this, it is best of 5s for the rest of the tournament. And a couple good ones, too, with CLG versus Immortals. Immortals were the team that sent CLG Academy to the lower bracket last spring. We're going to talk more about that. But also for 100 Thieves Academy, I think taking on FlyQuest, who have really looked good, I think, in PG, especially the bot lane. Tomo has been fantastic in this tournament. That's a challenging best of 3, and then if they win, they have to go through the team that sent them to the lower bracket in AoE Ginger Turmeric. And then if they win that, they have to face Team Liquid, the rematch from the last PG finals. Definitely one that would be exciting if we get that.
If Team Liquid wins, they're best of 5, because it's up against either CLG Academy or Immortals Progressive. And I'll say this, you never can count out Immortals Progressive when it comes to Proving Grounds. They will upset your expectations, and if there's one thing I've even learned from this Proving Grounds is predictions be damned. They don't mean anything here. It is all on how the teams perform on the day. It doesn't matter you go with all this research, all these stats. Nah, that's not going to matter. You got AoE Ginger Turmeric in the top 6. You got Dignitas with a pretty much new roster, making themselves in the top 4. It is just impressive all around.
That can be said every single time, every single split Magical. I'm pretty sure predictions don't really mean much.
Last one was a lot more straightforward. This one is all over the place.
Shout out also, we won't get Team Liquid Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy in the finals for the first time since the first Proving Grounds back in spring of 2021. But there was one big matchup that I want to highlight there, and that is 100 Thieves versus FlyQuest, because I don't know if anyone's aware of this. We got a super heavyweight smackdown on the line. So let's take a look.
Are you ready for a spectacle? Get ready for a super heavyweight smackdown! In the red corner, with 4 first-place Academy regular season finishes and 2 Academy titles. He's played in Academy, he's played in LCS, the man played in damn Challenger Series, it's Diamond! And his challenger in the blue corner. In his rookie split, he made it into PG Finals and pushed Team Liquid Honda into 5 grueling games. In his second split, he ended the regular season in second place. The mechanical support, the role swap carry, the future of the LCS, it's Busio! Put your channel points on the line, and we'll see you in the proving grounds.
I think the Busio thing is just so funny to me. Like, I can no hate to Busio itself, but like the any career guys, like it's not even the same player. Like we're not talking about the same player. There's at least like 4 better, I said 4 or 5 better academy supports right now. I think putting that much pressure on him is not even a good thing. You know, if he doesn't succeed and he does poorly, I would feel bad for the guy, like generally, because I think he has like a future as long as he like keeps like tryharding. You know, but wall swaps is like so like. You're not instantly good. You have to actually be like really good at your auto roll. Like I think Sven has like potential. I don't think Sven is like amazing right now. I think like the community like feedback on him. Like he of course he will get really good because he was so good when he was an indie carrier.
I think any other support can have as large of a champion pool with the Senna as I can. And I mean, it's not really their fault. It's like they didn't play mid lane. They don't have the skill set and the habits I learned from mid lane. So it just is what it is. Yeah, I don't know how long Diamond's been playing support, but it's been a really long time. So I think his mid and bot lane skills have probably diminished a lot.
And after we heard a little bit of chatter from you and Diamond in the beginning of the show, you come out on top with the Senna comps twice in a row, the Yasuo in game number 1. Got anything to say to Diamond on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, Diamond's trying to start this rivalry, but he better progress it really quick because next year I'll be in LCS and he'll still be in Academy, so there will not be a rivalry then.
Oh, I like it.
I mean, I don't think Busio is bad. I don't think that he's great either. I think like the hype around him is a bit over. Like it's a bit too much. Honestly, it's not his fault. Like it's kind of like people pushing the narrative. So I don't blame him too much on it. I think it's funny that he goes along with it. Personally, I won Academy twice. He won Academy 0 times. So that's enough.
Who could possibly be the one pushing a certain narrative about a certain player? I can't think of anybody on the broadcast who has such strong opinions about Busio, the young mid lane to support role swap. Cubby, anyone come to mind?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on over here. I guess everyone just likes my shirt today. That's why we're getting points or attention. That might be it. No, I mean, I think that, you know, Diamond is someone that has been, you know, playing for a long time. And I think that Diamond, some of the things that he's bringing up, he's seen players get really hyped up and not be able to meet those expectations. Yeah. But what we've seen from Busio so far, and part of the reason why we do have so much hype and excitement around him is, you know, he graduated high school, walked into Academy late in spring, had the worst round robin in the second round robin out of all teams, and turned that team around with everyone else to take second. And what have we seen him do in summer? He's been running with that and has really stepped up in his own individual gameplay and also has been getting caught on the map a lot less. Something that Diamond was highlighting as something that was an issue for Busio, you know, picking up support. Those problems have gone down for Busio, and he really feels like he is one of the stronger supports in the league. And I like the banner between both players because it really does make the later matchup more interesting, especially I think with both marksmen playing pretty well in this tournament too. So I'm really looking forward to the second one. Yeah,
that's the second matchup. We got our first matchup. So let's take a look at the schedule right now so we can catch everybody up on what is going to be on your screens today. CLG Academy versus Immortals Progressive to kick off the day. And the Super Heavyweight Smackdown happening with 100 Thieves Academy versus FlyQuest Academy after 2 best-of-3s coming up. And a reminder to everybody, and Magical, you were pointing this out, Immortals, they got to beat CLG, and then they got to beat Team Liquid if they want to make their signature top 4 run like we've seen them do 2 splits in a row.
And they all are a team, I'm telling you. Everyone's like, Immortals, they're not going to be able to do anything. And then somehow, every time, they prove everyone wrong. They defy logic in every stretch of the match.
So about Chad, man.
Chad, I just want to see him play Kha'Zix. If he can play Kha'Zix again, no one's going to be ready for it.
Ooh, that would be fun to see. Of course, we'll have to wait until we get into the pick and ban for that one to know. But if that's a schedule surprise, it's probably because you're not following a certain social media account. That is at Path to LCS on Twitter. Magical, I can't wait to see what you've brought for us today. Oh, it's just a sign. That might be the most tame thing he's done yet. But that is what you should follow, everybody. At Path to
Who has a chalkboard
LCS.
on hand?
You know, fair enough. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, Magical. But that's the Twitter account to follow for all of our schedules, crazy content that we make, and as well, everything updating you on Academy and Amateur. If you wanted to learn about the ecosystem of North American players developing, that's where you should follow. But with that said, that is the pre-show. So let's get into our matchup that starts the day. Immortals Progressive versus CLG Academy. A battle for top 6. CLG making a deeper run than they did last time around in Proving Grounds, and Immortals still trying to catch up to that top 4. And when we take a look at this roster, Magical, I know you have a point, but I'm actually sending this one to Colomer because, Colomer, you actually have a personal connection with this specific match, or at least a player playing in this match.
Oh, yeah. So I used to be a player back when Masters was good at the game, and I wanted to try out for my college team at Arizona State. So I played support, and I tried out, did like 6 games, went 6-0, smurfed it, best performance I ever had, right? And the coach at the time, Bopse, shout out to Ben, he messaged me on Discord after. He's like, hey man, you did great, like best support and tryout, like do you want to play JV? And I was like, dude, what? Like JV, best support, what do you mean? And he's like, oh yeah, we have this dude named Brendan. He's like 1500 LP back when that was like top of ladder. And he's just going to be starting. And so I looked at his account, I'm like, there's no way I'm ever playing over this guy. So that's how I swapped to like coaching, is because I knew I was going to ride the bench behind Brendan, who is Breezy on CLG. And so shout out to Breezy. If you weren't so good at the game, I never would have swapped to coaching. So thank you for forcing me to basically either ride the bench or start coaching. So appreciate that, bud.
Shout out to Breezy, everybody, for giving us Colomer on the desk. We might not have you as a guest if that hadn't happened. But there's also a little bit of history between these two teams in Proving Grounds itself from the spring. And Magical, I know that this was something that you were excited to talk about.
Oh, it's a revenge. It's the rematch between these two teams, where Immortals were the team that knocked down the #1 seed, CLG, in spring, down into the lower bracket. And this is why I wanted to correct you on one thing. This is exactly the point that CLG got to when they got eliminated in the lower bracket last time around. Exactly the same point. And it's against the team that knocked them down and first started that trend of them slowly crumbling. For Immortals, there's so much on this as well, because this is a team that has not yet, well, not yet, but in the last 2 Proving Grounds, not been out of the top 4. A team that has defied expectation and logic for many people when they try to predict how this team's going to do. And a lot of that, I gotta say, when we look at who's on the team, Chad, I think is a great standout player. He was the champion from summer of 2021. With Pretty and how well they've been performing together, it's all just dependent on how the rest of the map does, because when they all come together, they are this team that is absolutely insane.
And this series was awesome because we had the Prismal Kaisa in game 1, and then game 2, Immortals bounced back, and Joey's Renata won them the game in this game 3, because this ulted Baron right after, I think he hit a 5-man 2 in the next fight, as all the summoner spells were down after the first one. And it was like right when the champion came out. It was the best Renata we had seen so far.
It was cool.
It's also still his most played. So there's some history going into this one. And I'm really excited to see if IMT can knock CLG off again, or if CLG can bounce back.
Well, and
but the difference between the two rosters is vital. The player in the top lane. So I want to start talking about him. Yeah, I know Magical, but this is my job, okay? Okay? Well, talk to me about Vital then.
Who even needs Kangas here? We got, wait, no, we don't have Kangas. We don't have Kangas, so what am I saying?
Well, talk to me about Vital then, Magical. Why are we excited about this player? Because he is, of course, the difference from Spring, outside of Wild Turtle and Arrow, who are kind of swapping around.
Right. So when we look at Vital, he plays very differently than what we saw from Concept. Concept really liked the meatball champions, the stat checkers, who could just run at you, think the Mundos, think the Urgots. His Malphite was really good. The Singe was great to see. Vital is much more of that kind of carry jungler. And when he got recruited by IMT in the first place, they had run tryouts. It was kind of last minute, but he was the one that really stood above everyone else. That they said that this guy has got a lot of potential behind him. And when you see how he plays on Fiora, that's the reason he has the name Vital in the first place.
And Colmer, as somebody who has been in that shoes where you're trying to fill slots on a roster, you've looked at players, you scouted players. What are your thoughts on kind of Vital moving through the amateur ecosystem straight out of solo queue and into Academy?
Yeah, I think it can be kind of hard for a player to adjust. Like we said, there was when they were doing trials, that was actually one of the last spots filled. So there was a couple names that were getting thrown out between like amateur players who had maybe been around for a split or two, for them to run a tryout and basically just be like, yeah, this guy is so good that we don't even think that he needs a ton of experience in that regard. That we just feel like he fits our timeline and what we want to accomplish with our academy rosters says a lot about how much confidence they have in him. So it puts a lot of pressure on him, honestly, but obviously. It is Academy. There's room to grow and improve, and I'm sure that long term they see him as a potentially a viable option for LCS someday.
I feel like Vital's somebody to definitely keep our eyes out for, but we also got to bring our attention to the jungle because Chad, we mentioned it before, he's won a Proving Grounds before, made it to top 4 with Immortals as well, and he's up against Kevy, a new addition to CLG Academy. So when we're looking at new additions here on both sides, I want to start with the side of Chad. Cubby, Chad's an interesting player.
Part of me really loves Chad because Chad has never seen a fight that he doesn't like. And I think that sometimes that leads to some great moments from Chad and some other times where Immortals that can lead the moments where we've seen them get early game leads and not be able to transition those into wins all the time. So what I'm looking for is Chad to be more consistent and a little bit more conservative in the plays that he takes in these series, but still find the early angles where Chad is really at his best.
Well, see, this is where I'm like, I don't know if I even want that. I love Chad when he plays so aggressively, living up to his name of Chad Jungle that he originally went by, and Maximilian, his actual name too. He lives up to all the hype with that, with how he plays.
Sometimes it doesn't look as good like the last few that we saw, but sometimes it works for them, and that's what we're hoping for
this is what I'm talking
series.
about.
Looking at the consistency, looking at the ability to improve the performances at an individual level so that the team comes together and can actually pick up those wins. But interestingly enough, we could say a similar story about Kevy on the side of CLG Academy. The difference being he's much newer to the region, much newer to the team and to the roster, but Kevy himself is somebody who has those highs, has those lows, and also we're looking for that consistency from him as a player as well, Cubby.
And for me, Kevy coming over, stepping into this roster a little bit late, I think that we have seen some moments where Kevy is really good at starting fights, some others where he's a little bit ahead of his team. We're looking for him to be more on the same page with the squad and help CLG have these mid-game team fights. Has really been a core strength of theirs throughout spring and summer.
Kevy versus Chad. It's going to be an exciting one between the new junglers. Vital, the rookie coming in for Immortals Academy, hoping that he can help the team make that top 4 run just like the last 2 splits. With that said, I'm hearing the pick and ban is ready. So me and Colmer are going to watch from the sidelines while we pass it over to Magical and Cubby for game number 1.
We'll see you both on the other side as we get ready for our first game of the last day of best of 3. CLG Academy, Immortals Progressive Academy. With the bans already, look at that. A lot of focus from CLG, taking away power points from the side of Immortals. That Fiora from Vital, the Draven from Arrow, the Trundle ban makes sense too, just because that is a strong champion at the moment.
It tells me that they want an early Poppy for Kevy, and I'm curious if Immortals now takes that off the board as Yumi's still up. They'd rather deal with a Poppy than a Yumi, and honestly, I expect to see Poppy grabbed here early. Do have the option of taking the marksman that you want, but yeah, that Trundle ban kind of spells out to me, hey, we want this early game power, this early game playmaking, and now I'm going to look to see if Kevy can make some of those 3-wave dives and aggressive game plans that I expect out of Poppies.
And when we look at how Kevy has played too, we didn't get to really touch on this too much in the pre-show. This is a guy who plays more for controlled jungle. Especially when he's jumped into the Academy scene, we've seen him really stretch outside of just being someone who could play the Evelynn that you see him hovering. He's not actually going to play that. It's going to be the Poppy. But those were the styles he had played. You look back to MSI when he played there too. He was more aggressive, more the AP farming junglers. Now, you've seen that Wukong, one of his most powerful, that was banned away by Immortals. It's still kind of a similar vibe that Poppy brings.
And I think for Poppy, the big difference is just how aggressive you can be with some of these early pathings and game plans. And Poppy brings a lot of damage in her kit in the earlier stages. So again, really want to see if Kevy can capitalize off that now. Triple with this Ahri has a chance to help out too. If he's able to get out of lane post 6. But that Azir matchup, we've seen some players really harass Ahri as Azir, make it difficult to get outside of the lane early. Something we're going to look towards Pretty to do in this game. So he's taking that, and it's the Viego to round things out for the first phase of draft for IMT.
And I even want to bring back the point of triple on Ahri. This is a pick that we saw back when Ahri wasn't even reworked yet, that triple was still playing. Triple is still very comfortable with this champion, and he has a lot of practice on playing this into many different matchups. And so when she got reworked, he was still one of the first players to play this in the competitive circuit before people really figured out that she was highly meta. So going up against Pretty on Azir, it's not going to be the easiest matchup because Pretty is still a solid laner. He is a solid Azir player. I got to give Triple a lot of credit with what he can do.
At Triple, his Ahri was his most played last split. He was damn good at it. But the bans here are curious to me because something I want to actually see taken away is a Leona from Joey. I think Joey's Leona has been fantastic. We saw him go to it in the 2 elimination games that IMT were facing against 100 Thieves Next in that last series. And Joey really helped set the tone and help make plays with Chad on this Viego. So Joey now enabling Chad a little bit too with this Leona. Really like the grab for them in that series versus 100 Thieves Next, and it returns here.
I really do like this. Joey has been performing on many different champions. We talked about the Renata Glask already, but that Leona that he's been playing more recently, since there have been quite a number of bans levied at him in the bot lane, makes sense that he wants to go for this, but I like this pickup too for Breezy.
It's a Breezy special.
It's a Breezy special, bringing out the cow.
He loves his Alistar, and we'll see if he can find some power into the Leona. It's a lane matchup that you can play, you can get out of. We'll have to be careful about the Emperor's Divide later. But Alistar, something that Breezy is so good at when it comes to setting up flanks. And the follow-up now with Poppy. It's a lot of knockups already that CLG has. CC to try and set up Alistar for that secondary engage. We're going to see things rounded out with a Renekton for Jenkins. A pick that's really re-emerged into the meta here in the back half of the season with some changes to laning, some buffs to Renekton, and overall strength to champion. Want to be lane dominant. CLG, a lot of early game plans with Zeri being the late game insurance.
That's the only thing for me, is that you have the Zeri as the late game insurance that you can play around, that you can use to punish it in the late game. But looking at Immortals, they've got a good amount of late game themselves. As long as they can survive some of the initial onslaught that comes in from CLG Academy, they'll eventually outscale.
You're still going into a Zeri who has some meat shields, but I think the support around Zeri, a lot of it is CC and making sure that they get an early kill. I think the big key is just making sure that Viego does not get a reset. That could be what is game-changing for Immortals. So honestly, my eyes are on the supports quite a bit, as Breezy, Joey, 2 members that were a part of this big best of 3 in the last split, I should say. They're going to be the ones that are, finding the engages, trying to make some roams to get their teams ahead early. And if they're able to make sure that the fights start off on the right spot for their teams, I think that is going to be really important in 2 comps that are bringing a lot of engage to the table.
So then let's just bring back the conversation a little bit with looking at them, because I actually do favor Immortals progressive in the later stages of the game. I know Zeri is incredibly powerful at that point, but there are ways to lock her down on the side of IMT. So for CLG, what would be the game plan then going from mid to late?
I think for me, it's making sure that Pretty Azir gets out of the earlier stages. Going into Poppy Ahri, Poppy can gank that lane early, force Azir to burn a lot of mana with a few E's, and also, Poppy, you have that steadfast presence to stop the dash. If you're able to snowball Ahri, that's where things can really get out of control in favor of CLG. I think Immortals, it's important that they stop that.
Well, we'll find out if they're going to be able to do so as we load up onto the Rift for our first game of Week 3, Day 4. CLG Academy, Immortals Progressive Academy. The rematch from spring where CLG fell at the hands of Immortals Progressive. Now this has a lot more stakes. It's not just getting knocked down to the lower bracket, it's getting eliminated from the summer proving grounds.
CLG looking to get further than where they were last year. Immortals, of course, that 4th place finish. That would need to win this series to get back in the best of 5s and get that chance to play for 3rd place again. As IMT, I think in the back half of this tournament, did show a lot of poise going into 100 Thieves Next in that series. I think Joey on this Leona was a big difference maker. This is one of Joey's best champions throughout his career. And I think the way that him and Chad were able to sync up with the strength of Leona, the early game tankiness and playmaking was really big. And this time around, we're going to see Immortals go for an aggressive posture, but they spot out Alistar, know that this is scouted, and it's going to be a standard start here for Chad.
I think it's a smart move. Back out of that one once you notice that Breezy has spotted you out, because they could have roamed around. But looking at how the game will start at the moment. Kevy on Raptors, as you tend to do, as Poppy. Good wave clear early on, especially into multiple minions. But for Chad, we would look at Chad as this aggressive player. Despite playing things like Viego, he always looks for level 3 plays. And against something like Poppy, that's a difficult task to ask for.
Especially with Poppy, being a neutralizer as in the Viego matchup. I think that this is something that we're really going to have to see if Kevy can execute upon against Chad. It is mirrored clears, and that tells me that Poppy might be looking to dive this Gnar early. So if Jenkins is able to get the Mega out by the end of the third wave, we could see Kevy make his way up there as he has taken a fast 3 camp to get to topside.
This is one of those matchups that's a little wonky, because you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, is it Gnar or Renekton favored? Well, the first few levels, I always see as Renekton favored. In any matchup, Renekton's going to be favored in the early game. He's just powerful, got a lot of base damages. But Gnar has a good ability to kite back away once he gets more levels. Once he's actually further into the game. But at this point, as you talked about, Kevy looking for a dive would be perfect time. But Chad is in the vicinity.
Yeah, I got to credit Chad for, this plan, hovering the Gnar, matching the clear, knows that this was likely the scenario, given that Poppy, you can reasonably infer starting Raptors, is able to make sure that he's in the right spot to make sure that his top laner is safe, and he will be behind in terms of crabs for this, so we will see if he's able to make a play for that bot crab. But it's Kevy using some of that power of the early Poppy to make sure that Chad isn't able to get anything done. And now,
Speaking of
this
power,
is a very curious roam from Joey.
Well, they got lane priority in the bot lane.
Yeah, they do.
Looking to see if they can make that early play, utilize this Leona when she's kind of powerful in these early few levels. I mean, Leona doesn't really ever fall off, in my opinion. Just having the CC is always a good tool. But I do like seeing Joey be proactive on the map.
And that hover from Joey, I think that Immortals are understanding some of the early timers of Poppy. Understanding that she could be on that top side. But now, Joey and Chad syncing up bot.
That's going to be the Zenith Blade, but the knock-up flashed away. Breezy will survive. Meech getting a little bit of damage back onto Joey. But all in all, it's just going to be the one sum blown in the bot lane for CLG Academy.
Good flash, well played by the side of Breezy. That was necessary, but still, this first clear for Chad, he rotated out his own camps earlier, was able to secure the 1 crab. So now, Gromp, second one, a little bit more XP. And overall, we see Poppy, we look for early plays. This quieter early game, quieter first couple of waves, first couple of levels, I think really does benefit Immortals.
It does. I mean, it wasn't like Kevy didn't have a setup in mind. We looked at the top lane play. You were setting that up as well. But Chad was just in the perfect spot. He was right there in the top lane in case that actually went through for CLG. So CLG, having noticed when they sent out Jenkins to look at the Krugs, they're like, oh wait, Chad's here. We can't actually go for the dive. That's not possible.
And now Jenkins with the reset, a little bit ahead in this matchup, but overall, I'd say that Vital is right on par with the curve.
Right. I mean,
Joey,
that's the idea with the Renekton Gnar matchup, right? After a few levels, Gnar starts to get back in control.
Yeah. So, plated steel caps and a TP for Jenkins. Overall, things are pretty quiet, and we'll see if we have any moves for an earlier Dragon. I must say that with some of the changes that we have seen in 14, 12, 15, those Dragons getting more HP, it has really delayed the ability for teams to take earlier Dragons, which does hurt early game compositions. So, I don't know if CLG is going to be able to secure any of them, given the fact that Zeri is going to be, getting shoved in by this Aphelios.
And mid lane's kind of one of those skill matchups too.
Yeah, and at this point, things are Pretty's very strong as Azir in the first few levels, but now that Ahri has ult, it's going to have a lot more safety there. But we are seeing Chad actually start this dragon immediately. So that kind of what I was setting up with the bot lane priority.
They spotted out Kevy. The ward right there spotted him out, so they knew they could go for that.
Huge.
Vital surviving, not even flashing away. Just the pure hop to get out of there is a huge play for Immortals Progressive Academies because they're going to get everything. They're not going to lose anybody on the top side of the play from the play coming in from CLG. Plus, they're going to get that first dragon.
Also, you're looking at this Renekton Ahri comp, and that spells early mid-game plays, right? 1-2 item spike. So taking this dragon, Mountain Dragon's the strongest dragon that we have when dragons are buffed. So I think it's a really big take here for Immortals. It buys them 5 minutes, buys them some more resistances. That can be the game changer between getting Viego a reset or not.
But this game still is very slow in comparison to what we expect from Immortals. CLG Academy are a team that I have seen play more of the slow pace. Try to look for those plays from Kevy, but if they don't necessarily work out, they go back to the drawing board on what they want to do, and usually it's the mid game. But for IMT, they've made every play possible.
And I think IMT are looking for a play now, as Chad is going to be spotted on the Raptors, but Joey has snuck in here. CLG are wiser to it. That ward going down will give them some info that Immortals could be in the vicinity, as both teams going to be posturing over this red buff. But hey, while all this is going on, it does mean that Vital is able to hopefully catch up in that top side. As Vital, yeah, it's a solo matchup, but after this first base, he is really losing out on a lot of CS as he's fallen behind in this matchup. Well played by Jenkins in isolation to get this lead. Yeah,
he's got himself a nice lead. Only thing is, as you kind of mentioned, Vital should be able to pick up a lot of these minions starting soon because he's got the plated steel caps. There we go. And going up against something like Renekton that denies a little bit of that burst damage that you might provide in earlier stages of the game.
Yeah, usually, you know, this point of the game, expect Gnar to be down. Being down 20 is a bit too far.
It's a bit rough,
down. But it was a dragon take. Heavy did make a play top during that, so as long as Vital's able to make sure that, you know, he's peeling, trying to connect some big ults to make sure that Chad gets those reset, Pretty can pump out the damage. Should be okay for the side of Immortals.
And at the moment, they look pretty dandy. Playing out a ward, Kevy on the other side will spot out Pretty's movements, but it's going to flash in with her charge of the charm on top of it as well. Nice play from Kevy to pick up first blood.
Oh, well done by Kevy. He beats Immortals to the rotation as Herald is up. Kevy lying in wait, Pretty trying to, you know, get any scouting done in the river. Gets caught out, taken down. Great setup from Kevy and triple.
And we got to see this nice T2ers look as well. It's just a great flash charge. It's one of those things that perfectly sets up for the charge.
And Kevy just getting there lying in wait, and, you know, for Pretty, he had Joey rotating over. They did just take the dragons, so checking that a little bit early. Kevy did sneak in there, and he gets punished. Really good movement from CLG, shifting that power into the top side after Dragon was taken. And they take the first rift, very important for their composition, knocking down some turrets, getting some gold early. CLG right back on track.
I was talking about how CLG like to play around this mid game. They have a composition drafted around that, but when the early game that they also have drafted for doesn't necessarily go too well, they look for plays like that. A nice pick on a Pretty, getting themselves that Rift Herald. Looking to see where that's going to be plopped down as well, because that's going to give a lot of extra gold over to them. Well, Vital is fighting a little bit against Jenkins. Could kite him out, but he's got to be careful. Chad's nearby. Maybe he's just trying to bait him in. Slowing him down. Jenkins, he's wise to the play, though, and he's backing off.
And now we have Kevy showing bot. He does have Shelly in his back pocket. Curious if we have Breezy go for anything here, as Chad is topside. They don't know this. Breezy.
Okay, here we
go.
Looking for the lightning surge as well. Zenith Blade to root up Breezy. And they flash away. It's going to be the charge coming in from Kevy. Joey's going to sacrifice his life so Arrow can live.
Well done by CLG. Textbook. 2 members in base for Immortals. No response. And see if Kevy decides to drop the Herald, funnel some gold in the Meech.
I would definitely want to do that, get this Zeri online as quickly as possible, but looks like he's going to hold on to that for a little bit longer. Might even look to see if they can crack this mid lane turret, something that is really difficult to get away from an Azir.
Either way, great play from CLG as now they've gotten power into 2 of their lanes thanks to good play from Kevy.
Ooh.
And, you know, we were asking Kevy, we've seen Kevy mostly play the Viego, the Wukong. In fact, those are the only champs that he has multiple games on until he locked in Poppy this time around. So, you know, Kevy on this champion where you have to make early plays, have to make pressure. Kevy's really making it happen in this game and making sure that Now the solo laners of CLG are set up for success, as that he had a gank top, helped set Vital behind, found a kill mid onto Pretty, now finds a kill bot, as he's gotten all of his laners something in this early game.
Gotten them something, gotten them gold, and it will give CLG some power around this next dragon if they want to even fight for it. You can see the rotations coming in from Breezy and Kevy on the top side of the map. They're looking for a play on Vital, but Vital realizes that they had gotten that crab already, so Vital's completely out of there.
And this is where the Herald goes, so it is plates going into Zeri. But CLG actually taking the tempo, they swap up the lanes. I love this call
they don't
from
play
CLG. As, okay, Kevy, realizing that no one's there. So we'll still be plates going over to the side of the Zeri, Meech and CLG, as it will be Australian lane setups for CLG, as Immortals sees this and says, all right, Dragon's ours, and we'll see if they can take it down in time, as this is spotted. It should be theirs. We'll see if Triple makes a move. Will not be the case. Just going to hit mid-wave, so IMT, 2 drags to their name.
Not too surprised to see them just relent that. It was a pretty easy take for IMT, noticing so many members in the top lane. And with that, they have 2 dragons to their name, and that could be a bit of an insurance for IMT, utilizing the stacking of dragons to overcome any sort of deficit they might find themselves at now.
And again, Mountain Dragon, I think, was the strongest, still is the strongest after the changes, but you know what else is strong? Gold in your pockets. CLG doing a great job ensuring they are trading that for the Dragons on the map, as they have taken first brick and have opened up a 3k gold lead with a lot of that gold on Zeri to their name.
And I think that's the big thing, is that Meech, one of the new players for CLG, who wasn't a part of the devastating run from CLG last spring when they fell to IMT, when they fell eventually in the lower bracket as well. He was a player that they picked up who they faced against. They faced against Immortals AoE, where Meech was on that team and decided, this is the guy we want to pick up. We can see the talent in this player, so giving him all these resources and the opportunity to show how he is as a player is a big step in confidence in this bot lane.
And we've seen Meech, I think, in the later stages of the team fight, play very well throughout this Academy season, especially as a rookie. As Meech, he's someone that I always look towards when it comes to like 50-50 reaction plays, because Meech rarely loses those. Nearly never loses out on the reaction play as a marksman. And with all this gold on a Zeri, someone that's still very powerful on this patch, we will see what Meech is able to do with it. I'm used to seeing Zeris with, you know, enchantresses and big front lines coming from the LCK a little bit of late. But this time around, it is a couple of meatballs in front of the Zeri, and we'll see if that can work.
See, I've even realized more. This is how big brain I am, Gubby. So just listen here. They get the Zeri, and what else do they have on their team? What does every other member on the team do? They go in. They look for fights, and Meech is right there with them, trying to get the damage, punting away Chad too. Joey, he's alive. No, he's not. Meech takes him down the flash in with the pulverize. Getting, no, Breezy. Way too much damage on the turn. They got resets now. Chad could look for it, but look where Triple is. He's looking for the blade on the other side. They're getting a lot of damage onto Chad. Waited it out. Now they got to get the charm, but it did not connect. Pretty's nearly there. Could show up and try to go for the flank with that versus Divide, but holding up. Not getting a charm, not getting the stun either. Didn't work out for Chad as he fell to Triple and Pretty. Completely books it.
Didn't hit the Alistair combo going in there. Not the right call, as Meech able to turn it around, and I was talking about Meech's reaction time. What about a little bit of a Captain Jack cleanse in that fight to get out of the Leona ult, make sure that he was getting all the damage down onto Immortals bot lane, as you called it out, Mad Magical. It's not an Enchantress, not an Ornn in front of Zeri, but it is these big brawlers that can make sure they go in and create the space that Meech and Zeri needs, exactly what CLG does here.
I love this. Starts off just with the double CC onto Joey. Joey survives for a long time, but it's like you said, the cleanse that Meech had so he can continue to chase that down. Not having that cleanse that perfect means that Joey probably survives.
And then the combo there from Chad, it's the right idea. It's just not able to get it down. And that makes sure that CLG able to turn this in their favor. Meech, again, reaction time so good as plays continue.
Away. Getting a little bit of damage onto Breezy. Did he re-engage? He's used the Unbreakable Will, but his will be broken by Pretty, as at the Rift Herald, down to 50%. The TP coming in from Jenkins. But Vital is not Mega. He bounces out of there. They might have to forfeit this objective. Kevy's still there with the smite, as Chad's looking for a way in. They don't get it, so it will be the Rift Herald taken for the life of Breezy.
I think that TP from Jenkins was good. Just make sure that they secure it. It's now triple. Knowing the fight's over, gonna go fishing. Not able to find anything, but Immortals not able to get the objective. And CLG, we talked about some of the early strength of this composition. The champs around this area really taking advantage of it here.
It's essentially mid-game now for CLG Academy. That backup plan that I talked about, how this team likes to play around these moments, utilizing triple for some picks, but then they have Meech as the insurance for the late game if necessary. And he's 2-1. He's got an item, well, not even an item, it's a half an item lead over Arrow at this point. And as a Zeri, that is a massive lead against an affiliates.
It's one that CLG really worked as a team to get to. And again, Heavy this game, 100% kill participation. He has been the one finding the timings, dictating the plays, and he set himself behind to set his team ahead. Well worth it for the side of CLG is, Kevy, hold on.
Getting Kevy, lots of damage. He's rooted up for a long time, but he's still pretty tanky. Was able to survive. The charge comes in mid lane with Jenkins here on the other side, but Vital this time is going to go Mega, so they could look to re-engage if they want to.
IMT.
They're pretty far out. The turret will be taken. Vital goes in, then he gets a three-man Menor ult into the wall, but the bounce around! The Keeper's verdict didn't work, but Meech, he's doing so much damage in the back lane, looking for Brady, who flashed away, but he dies to triple, and now, Meech, can you be a hero? Can you make sure that the rest of your team continues to pump out the damage? He certainly can as IMT. The play looked good initially, but CLG off the back of Meech, Zeri on a rampage at that will take victory in that fight.
Vital just got too far ahead of his team, and I gotta credit Breezy. His engage in the choke to answer the Vital engage. It prevented any follow-up on that big Meganar that Immortals found as Breezy held them all in place with the Alistar, and CLG were able to turn it around at the end.
They turn it around, they deny that soul point potential for IMT, and they gain a huge gold lead over
Breezy.
IMT.
Watch Breezy here, making sure that Joey can't get in. Heavy's gonna get choked, or chunked here, but this re-engage from Breezy on the top path, because Vital finds a good play. I mean, it's a big Meganar. IMT are able to follow up on this. It's huge, but Breezy, he was just holding the line. He was the bodyguard during that play, and now IMT, they're down big. They gotta try and find something as Jenkins.
Anything and everything. They'll take what they can get, getting to the scraps, getting a shutdown for
That's
Pretty.
big.
That's big gold, but they've now shifted back to their side, but are still behind. 5,000 gold at 18.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a mistake from Jenkins. It looks like his team was coming out of base from that replay, so being past River, that gets punished by Immortals. Good stuff from them, as that is much needed gold going over to the Azir. And it will be a tower falling in IMT's favor. So we're going to go back to this replay again. Watch Breezy in the choke. Because Vital, he gets him, but Breezy pops the ult, and him going in here just prevents any and all follow-up. Look at Arrow. He can never follow up on the back half of that big combo from CLG, and Breezy just straight up walks at Arrow. So he's never able to hit any priority members, and guess what? Meech is ahead. Meech goes untouched, and Meech rips through this fight because of Breezy playing bodyguard. Played that fight so well.
Continue to play off the back of this new ADC, working out well. He got the hands, got the damage, and now he's 4-0-3 here in this game against Immortals Progressive. They can continue to rely on him as long as they make sure to peel for him. When they all dive in, they're going to be the dive duos all across the board, utilizing Breezy, utilizing Meech to dive in.
And I know that Kevy got chunked out in that fight, wasn't really able to, have this big impact on the Poppy, but I think that fight, we kind of saw the impact of Kevy's early game come to fruition. Because again, Kevy gave away his own lead, skipped a lot of camps to make sure that he was hitting the lanes at the right times, that he was able to make plays for CLG. And who took over in that fight? It was all the people that he set ahead in the earlier stages of the game, as Meech and Triple just shredded the side of Immortals. And Kevy, he's here, not spotted.
But look at that. There's way more members of IMT already in the vicinity. With the TP coming in, they're going to be answered by Vital. It's pretty deep. Jenkins looks for the stun on a Chad. Chad's still taking a lot of damage, but Jenkins might die first. They got the shutdown. They've got resets. As Kevy went in, Kevy will die. Immortals fight back.
And what I was just crediting CLG for creating a situation where they're the ones doing damage that, they're the ones that are really zoning out the damage dealers of the enemy team. Immortals does that to them, and now with no jungler on the map, they're on Baron.
but it's still Meech. Meech is still alive. Look at the damage he's able to do.
Yeah, that's
Blowing
one.
up Joey before they can do anything. Getting a little bit of damage on the Vital on the other side. Meech wailing away,
Waiting
using
for
that
triple.
pistol, trying to get the zap
Watch triple,
connecting.
watch
It's going to
triple.
be Chad. Cleanse again. The knockup comes in, but it's pretty
Oh, it's big.
with the ult. The shutdowns on the Meech and IMT. Claw back a victory with a Baron on top.
And Pretty has been quiet so far this game. But the one shutdown that he gets on Jenkins, he has more gold to his name, and that Shurima shuffle was game-changing. As again, Pretty was the target at the start. Kevy finds the chunk with a TP in here from Jenkins. It's 2 deep. No one can follow up from CLG on this play. Jenkins goes down, and then Kevy eating in. He just gives himself away. That's Smite down now. So Immortals look for the Baron, and Pretty comes up huge. This is someone that has been known for his mage play historically, has been playing mid laners that have a lot of pressure in order to help enable Chad, in order to help affect the side lanes, in order to help get things going for his team this split. But on the mages, Pretty has been known for these during his career for a reason, and he steps up massive in this play.
Absolutely gargantuan play. The fact that it picks Meech
Huge.
too, that's what makes that play all worthwhile.
I mean, it doesn't only pick Meech, but when you go in as a Azir, that's a one-way trip when you're burning all your spells just like that. He didn't have flash that fight. It's just coming back up for him now. So you got to go into the right time. Pretty picked the perfect time to go in as he just turned the game really on its head. As we're at an even game state now. And Immortals, they pick up this dragon. They should be able to secure it given the pressure they have from Baron. All of a sudden, they're on soul point. It's an even gold game. You said you liked the scaling they had earlier in this one, Mad Magical. They're ahead.
They're ahead, and it's Azir, Viego who have the gold leads for the team. Even if the gold is dead, even between, we look at who's going to be the carries for these fights. Pretty and Chad versus Meech and Jenkins in these fights, because those guys, they've got more gold than their opponents, and they got to utilize these frontline meatballs in both Breezy and Jenkins to their effect.
CLG trying to find angles
Keeper's
here.
verdict.
Kevy,
Knocks
that's
back
big.
two. That's huge. But the flash away from Vital. Still alive. Looking for
flash.
Joey instead. Joey's taking a lot of the brunt of the damage. Goes golden to try to see if he can survive long enough for the rest of the team to be able to show up. They're getting damage onto Jenkins. Jenkins chunked low as well. So he'll pack off. But with the dragon having spawned, you can tell that IMT, they know so much is blown out of CLG that they can immediately peel for it.
Honestly, a good moment there from both of our teams. CLG, I think the pincer, that was a good problem-solving scenario to try and attack Immortals, but Immortals, they answered really nicely. A big flash from Vital gets out of the Kevy E, and also Joey going golden. Make sure that no one goes down, and this dragon goes down in Immortals' favor.
That will be their third. Now they're in soul point. They just need the one final one to secure an Infernal Dragon Soul, and a soul's a soul. I don't care how powerful or weak people like to say with stats and everything. A soul is a goddamn soul.
Hey, and Infernal, that's not too bad here for the side of Immortals.
Soul's a soul! I don't care what soul it is. Soul's a soul!
You know, I guess we are on the LCS channel. Maybe this is where we give the House of Dragons plug. You know, 21st coming out. I'm pretty excited for that one. We don't have the banner. We don't have a soul yet, but, you know, we're getting ahead of things. We're trying to, you know, promote NA here on this channel, Mad Magical. This is how we do it.
But isn't
cross-promotion.
Isn't Game of Thrones mostly played by British people?
House of Dragons, man. That's all I'm saying. Pretty excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page here. So looking at now the game state, slow it down a little bit, and this is where I said I do favor Immortals Progressive on what they have as a composition. Arrow was not only able to pick up 2 kills for himself, but he got the shutdown gold off of Meech. So he was, I think, about 3,000 gold behind Meech, and now it's only about a 1K lead behind.
And while we have some downtime, looking at the item board real quick, Infinity Edge has been completed for Meech. That's massive.
Yes.
But also, Pretty is sitting on a death cap and a stopwatch. So
yes,
Pretty has the ability to go in and make some plays, almost has level 16 as well. And that's really big for the side of Immortals because Meech, you know, with Seri W, the magic damage crits, you can't try and zone out Azir, but if you're just DPSing Azir, it can really interact with you well. So really important that Pretty's ahead.
I think it's almost even more important to look at the summoner spells available for both sides. Cleanse and Flash are still up for Meech, and you talked about before how this guy does not miss reactions. He is always on point with them, so even with Pretty having his own Flash, we'll have to see who's got the skills to outplay the other.
At the moment, though, Immortals, I mean, it's a game where it's even on the gold graph. They're ahead 2 dragons. And we will see if Immortals decides to make any play towards this Baron, or if they're just content to wait for a dragon fight.
I mean, I would imagine that they're just probably going to wait it out. It's going to be a minute and a half till the Baron will spawn, but unless CLG look for a pick themselves, a Hail Mary play, maybe themselves try to see if they can burn down that objective, it might just be the Baron, the dragon that IMT wait for.
CLG are just getting back out onto the map now. So, yeah, it does look like Immortals. They aren't keeping any control over the Baron pit. They have a crab. That's all they need. It's the advanced setup for Dragon. The early setup, 2 minutes ahead. Just got to say, Immortals, securing that Infernal Soul would be game-changing in their favor.
I also feel like this fight that might break out right now, this could be the end of the game. The TP's coming in, the punch away from Chad, but the TP is burned. Vital is in the middle of the fight now, but there's still some time until these objectives spawn.
Yeah, a lot of tenacity at this stage of the game for Jenkins. Not able to find the chain CC from Joey's Leona. A rare slight mistake from him there. As again, his Leona so on point. Jenkins able to sneak out, and that's a TP out of Vital. That is really big for setting up some of these objectives.
Right. And the thing is, even though Joey, it's going to be a low cooldown on Solar Flare, being, what is it, level 10? One more level, even less of a cooldown. You still, like you said, you lost out on the TPs from Vital.
Yeah,
Jenkins will control the side lane, and look at even where Vital is playing. He's not playing to match Jenkins anymore. He's laning to match where the team will be.
Oh, this is good play from Vital. Trying to push out top lane about a minute ahead of Dragon. Should be able to get to Dragon in time after he gets these 2 waves out, so not bad from Vital. Love to see good macro play coming out of our Academy team. As now, again, all about the Dragon setup. Resets coming out from both teams. CLG actually TPing onto the map. Jenkins early as they're scouting out the Baron. Realize no one's on it, and CLG being on the map first will have first say to controlling bot river.
This is where I go back to what I was saying before. I feel like whoever wins the next team fight wins the game.
Yeah, and Meech, stopwatch and Vamp Scepter, so even more sustainability and heal. Meech is the most important person to watch in this next fight. Has to deal nearly all of the damage behind this beefy frontline that CLG has drafted for him, so really gotta keep our eyes on the Meech is Joey.
Joey, he's burst down before he can even pop his W. They're getting a little bit of damage on the other side, but they have only been able to CC. They might have to forfeit this Dragon because Joey can't stay.
I'd love the discipline of CLG to just take the chunk, right? Take the health bar advantage. Your job here is to get Dragon, get yourself in this game, prevent Soul. That's a damn good job of it, as they just trade an entire health bar for full control over the spot river. Love seeing the discipline from our Academy team at the right time, and this Dragon's all theirs.
No, look at this. The Baron started up. This is a quick Baron taking team. When you have a 0 on your team, they burn it.
And at this point of the game, Dragon and Baron at the same health. So CLG, they've actually peeled off the Dragon.
They couldn't get it. They just forfeited. So now the Baron taking over with the knockup coming in on the Vital. But Vital, even with the charm, he's still tanky. He's still big. Punched it away by the Keeper's verdict. Flash comes in from Breezy to survive with no fight still happening. Dragon up. IMT. Notice how low some of the members of CLG are. So they're already looking to see if they can chase them down towards this pit.
It's a gutsy call from Immortals, but it pays off again after the Dragon changes. Dragon has so much HP. Oh, they're just going.
That's going to be the stopwatch burned by Triple. Meech is the next one. Lightning Crash getting a lot of damage. He's got the damage. Meech, he has to flash away. They've got the stun. Chad takes down Meech, and CLG will fall at the hands of Immortals Progressive in game 1 of this best of 3.
It's so big from Immortals. Some of these calls they've made later, and they're not done. Chad can clean the rest up.
They're just looking to see if they can pad the KDAs. They've got the soul. They've got the damage. They're going to get the kills, or they're just going to chase back CLG Academy into their base, as they've got everything they can possibly hope for.
I got to credit Immortals for that Baron call. That was gutsy, but they knew their limits. They knew they had the damage between this Aphelios Azir, the champions that you were saying, Matt Magical, these guys scale so hard into the later stages of the game. That paid off huge for Immortals there, as they catch CLG between a rock and the hard place. They tried to contest the Baron, they got there late, they didn't get the Dragon. That was contested by Immortals, they went out huge on the fight, and all of a sudden this game went from being a CLG favorite 10 minutes ago to Immortals taking down an inhibitor, now an inhibitor turret with the Baron 10 minutes later off some great calls from them.
So I was wrong. I thought that fight might be the end of the game completely. CLG, they hold on by a thread. They are still so far behind now. Even if it doesn't look like it in gold, the Dragons that they're behind, 2 Barons that were picked up by IMT, and now missing that inhibitor mid lane gives all the control possible to IMT.
Oh man, and for CLG, I mean, this early draft, heavy, the gameplay they had around it was great, but here they just fall apart as Triple. He gets isolated, has to burn his ult to get all the way out, and then look at Breezy. Someone's been so big for CLG this game, he had to go all the way around this wall. By this time, he's got 2 people that are majorly chunked out. Meech gets taken down first. No peel available from CLG as they had to use all their tools to just get out of this scenario. And CLG not being properly set up there. Immortals, again, first on the punch. They're able to find the engage and punish hard.
Yeah, I almost wish we had a slow-mo of Joey's flash Zenith Blade that started the fight, the pick onto Triple, because that essentially meant the game and the fight was going to be IMT's.
Oh,
and now, this is all just them and formality.
He needed to go golden.
Looking for the damage, looking to see what they can get. Triple will be alive, but there's a little bit of damage on Breezy as he punts away Vital, but the minion, Cannon, still there in the bot lane, wailing away on this turret.
But at this point of the game, like all the tools of CLG just have to be burned to get out, get themselves safe, as that is the last inhibitor turret falling. A second inhibitor falling, and IMT is sprinting towards the third. Idol already has it at half.
Yeah, they can easily peel back there. Though Chad being low is going to be something that could threaten IMT's potential victory here in game 1. He's staying alive, and like you said, 3 inhibitors gone. They try to engage onto Joey on the other side. Jenkins getting caught out with the Zenith Blade, trying to get away. Pretty making sure that he's defending his teammates as they look to retreat out of the base of CLG.
Oh, this Azir is just pumping out damage now. And, I mean, Azir into Alistar, Renekton, Poppy at this point of the game. These are just free hit targets for an Infernal Soul. Azir pretty ahead, doing so much damage with Arrow. CLG are stuck in their base.
What can they do? They have no inhibitors left. They only have these 2 Nexus turrets, and they're behind 5,000 gold and Infernal Soul that IMT have claimed. Even though there's 3 minutes left until that Elder will spawn, I doubt we'll see it in the light of day today.
First super wave for Immortals from that bot inhibitor they took on this push. That's going to be a Nexus turret. That's one.
Wait, look at Jenkins. Jenkins is on the flank here. They're looking for a Hail Mary play. No Nexus turrets remain. They've got the fight, but they're looking for Pretty to get an angle inside. SCU is golden to survive. Vital getting the gnarl, and that's going to be that burst of 5. Even though they got him, Meech was able to pick up the kill. Meech is still alive, wailing away, kiting back, doing the best he can. Looking to see if he can take down Chad. He gets it. They're getting locked down, though. Meech, he couldn't get away from the fight that time around, and he'll fall to the hands of Arrow. CLG lose game 1. IMT looking to replicate history.
A back and forth banger here, Mad Magical, as I gotta say, CLG, that early plan, their play around Kevy was so sound, but it was just 1 or 2 mistakes that Immortals found, and I gotta credit, again, Joey on this Leona. The difference that Immortals looks like as a team when Joey is able to find these engages and work with Chad. I think it's been massive for Immortals, this pick in this tournament. Joey's now 3-0 on it. Ever since they were at match point against 100 Thieves Next, it's all he's played. He stepped up so big on this Leona, really making things work for his team. That was a good team win there from Immortals.
It was, and I got to give so much credit to Joey, too. I think that that Zenith Blade won them the game. And in fact, I hear that we actually have a bit of an interview from Joey that we can listen into while we have our break, so make sure you stay tuned for that.
I'll be honest, none of us deserve it, so I'm not going to say it. I think probably either Tenacity or Jan. I think Tenacity's been a big reason why his team has been winning his games, just because of like the absolute presence that he brings in the top lane. But then I also think Jan has been like performing out of his mind this split. I think that guy's for sure going to be playing LCS next year, and it's not even going to be close. Like, he's definitely probably the hottest commodity coming into the next offseason. So probably